Okay, I'm doing a voiceover on this video because I did some heavy editing to it to cut it down to kind of the bare minimum of what needs to be done to get an asset from a ready-made asset from its ready-made state into Talespire. So if you have a asset that has a mesh and has textures for it, you can take those, you can put them together in Unity Bundle, you can use the custom asset library plugin and get that into Talespire. So let's get to the video. We are starting here with the unpacking of a Hero Forge model from the Unity bundle that it comes in. I'm not really sure why the Unity bundle that it comes in doesn't work, but it doesn't. Possibly has to do with not having the correct info files and things like that. It comes in to Blender on its side and way too large to be like if you put this into Talespire the way that it is, it would be absolutely massive. We're going to rotate it once I remember that that's what I'm doing, and import a human-sized block that I got from Lord Ashes. And then we will be scaling this model down to fit within that human-sized block. So there you can see the block. And I'm going to make him just a little bit larger because I want him to be human-sized and I want his pack to come out over it. I'm doing this just as quickly as I can just to show for the people who were watching the stream live at the time how to get it done when my intention was to eventually modify this model beyond its base form that it came out of Hero Forge in. And you can see that video on my Twitch channel. So here I am creating a new file to put all of these parts that we're making in and opening Unity Hub. Now it's important that you are using the version of Unity that I have found works is 2021.2.14, and all of the other versions I've tried have failed to work. There in the chat you can see I just put up the custom asset library plugin and the link for where to find it. I will be including those in the details on this video probably another day. If they're not there when you're looking at this, it's the middle of the night as I'm recording this and I need to get to bed. Okay, so back in Unity, we are pulling in all of those assets that we just separated. I'm building a file structure here that is the file structure that the plugin uses to find these files when it's running. So assets, broad assets, then nested and editor, and then nested in the broad assets file is going to be a folder named character, and in the character folder we're going to create the named character, and I've actually the character's name for that folder, and you actually can do this in batches. I'll go over that more in detail later. Inside the character we're going to create a content folder, and inside the content folder we will have its materials, meshes, and textures for all of the assets that we are pulling in associated with the final model. I accidentally duplicated two models over the top of each other here, so I have to get rid of the extra model and import. I'm importing just the ones that I want. I could just associated the ones that I want with the right model, but I want to get rid of the extra ones so I don't accidentally screw something up later and import manually one at a time the ones that we're actually going to be using. And then we want to make sure that we get the mesh. I accidentally grabbed the materials, the exported material file from Blender. That doesn't play nice with Unity as far as I've found so far. So I haven't got a lot of use out of it. I'll probably play around with that some more. But here we're changing all of the textures we got out of Hero Forge into to make them read writable, and we have to do the same thing with the mesh. So that they can be read by the program as it reads them. So make that mesh read writable, and then we're going to actually export the material that it currently believes it's using. That causes it to associate that material with the model. So when we associate all of their textures with that material, they're already applied correctly to the model. I have since learned other ways of doing this, but this is just an easy, quick way that doesn't require any more understanding of how Unity handles these assets. So now we're going to assign each of these textures to their correct places, and I'm checking their names to try to figure out which ones are which so I know where to assign them. And I actually end up assigning some of them incorrectly and setting some of their values wrong. So don't rely too much on the way that I'm doing this time around. Hopefully I will have better videos of this in the future as I get better at doing this, but this is just to give you kind of the idea of how this works. You just drag and drop the textures while you have the material selected over into the appropriate spots. To do so, drag the model out into the scene so we can set all of its values. We want to make sure that it is centered and rotated correctly in the scene. And these are the numbers that ultimately Talespire uses to determine this model's position relative to its center and its scale in the game. And there are settings in the game that can modify, like for example the scale numbers. So if you decided you wanted to resize this model in Unity instead of using 3D modeling programs such as Blender, then using those features in Talespire would cause it to malfunction. The other thing we need here is an info.txt file. I have yet to get one of these to work correctly. I think I figured out why, but I haven't proven it yet, and it has to do with the way that I'm setting up the code. Hopefully by next week I will have a zip file that I'll be able to provide a link to that can give you this whole file structure with a working info.txt file and the editor code and all of the nested files that you need. So you can just take that zip file, export it into your Unity project, and be ready to just plug your assets in and get them into Talespire. And you don't have to worry about all this Unity setup that I'm doing right now. We're grabbing the prefab that's going to come now that we have the character in the scene. That's going to come from the scene up there. You're just going to drag that down into that bottom bar and tell it to load it as an original prefab. We are then going to have to assign everything to a bundle. You can't actually see what I'm doing in the bottom right hand corner there, but there is if you're in Unity, there's a little bar there that You can like drop down menu that will allow you to create and assign assets to a bundle, and you want to make sure everything in this content folder is assigned to that bundle. My normal maps got messed up because I did not put them in correctly. I was in a hurry when I did this. I was just trying to show how to do it, and I wasn't taking my time to make sure that it was necessarily done 100% correctly. Hopefully I'll make another video at another point in time that goes over what all of those textures are and how to handle them in a little bit better detail. But for now, we're going to take that Unity bundle that was created, and we are going to copy it into our custom assets library plugin. I forgot where it was for a second, but we got to go all the way up to, we got to find our app data folder. And in the app data folder, you'll find the roaming folder. Under roaming, you'll find R2 Modman plus local. Under that, you got Talespire, profiles, your profile, BPN, BEPINEX, and then plugins. And then you'll have to create the local content folder if you don't have one. And inside of that, you will need to create a custom data folder. When Talespire runs after this, it will look for that custom data folder, and it will convert anything in that custom data folder into usable assets. And then we're going to save our Unity project. And the first time I did this here, I actually did it in the wrong version of Unity, and that caused it to load incorrectly in Talespire. So I had to go back and redo it in Unity. Fortunately, the versions that I used were fairly compatible, and all I had to do was open the same exact folder in the Unity 2021.2.14 and then recreate the asset bundle. That was the only change that I needed to make. I didn't have to go rebuild the whole file structure and all of that. You could just open it up in the correct version of Unity, again 2021.2.14, and it's good to go. And watching the boot log for Talespire here can give you a lot of information on what's going wrong with your things if you know how to read it. So when you do get errors, you can troubleshoot them most of the time. Sometimes it's more helpful than others. And we're going to load up a map here. This is kind of my go-to asset testing map. It's the default map in the main campaign setting I'm working on right now. It's called Festival of Worlds. I'm super excited about it. Talk about it some other time. Because I don't have all my folders working correctly, no names yet, and we didn't put a portrait on this model, so it's just going to come up as no portrait. Go over that again. We did end up doing that in the Twitch video that I originally recorded here, but there is our beetle model with all of his inverted normal maps. So yeah, that's how you get a model that you already have all of the assets for into Talespire. Once again, it's super important that you are using the correct version of Unity to do that. And hopefully I will get the necessary links into the comments or the information on this video soon. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever it is you feel like doing to help us get the word out to anybody else who might be interested or watching. Thanks, guys.